Good morning, you all. Welcome with Days with Jen. Oh, there goes Alex again, poking his head out, wondering what's going on. I hope you had a wonderful night. The sun is out and beautiful here in Lakeside, Oregon. I've got my Live, Laugh, and Love cup here drinking coffee this morning. So today, well, this last week, we have done some projects. We have done a simple stitch. We've learned how to do a purl stitch. Now we're going to combine the two to do a honeycomb stitch. I have to move stuff so my kitty doesn't get into them. This here was the simple stitch that we did, where we just went through the bars and came back in reverse. This was our purl stitch that we did. We yarned over, pulled them through to make this neat little look to it. And this was the back of that. So that was simple. And the purl stitch, today we're going to make this look. This is a honeycomb stitch. As you see, it makes looks like almost like a beehive actually. And it's called the honeycomb stitch, and it gives you this really neat look. And I do some of these on the scrubbies that I make, because some women love the look of the honeycomb stitch. So I do actually quite a few of the different stitches for it. So today I am actually using cherry red 100% acrylic yarn. I am using my 4.5, so this is like a size G Tunisian crochet hook. As you see, it's got the hook at this end, and this side shows what it is. You can't really see it on this one. These I bought on Amazon. I have my pair of scissors, my measuring tape, and of course, I always have a yarn needle at hand. Now, before we get started, please like and subscribe to this channel, share this video, and hit the bell notification so every time I upload a video, you will get notified to it. So let's get started with today's project. So we're going to pull the yarn loose here. And this one I might have to put down next to me in the bench. And I'm sorry, you guys, when I can afford better equipment, I will get it. I try to do it so you guys can see what I'm doing. And if you have any problems with actually seeing what I'm doing at times, go ahead and rewind the video and just keep watching it. I've had to do that with other stuff that I've learned. So we're going to do our slip knot on there. And like our simple and our Tunisian stitch, we're going to stitch out of how many we want. So today we're going to do 20 stitches. And we're going to do the same thing we did with the very first row. So let's go ahead and count out 20 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 20 stitches in the project we're starting. So like all of our other projects, we're going to go into, not this one here, because this is hooked to this loop. We're going to go into the next one. We're going to yarn over, pull through. So we have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to go into the third one there, yarn over, pull through. There's 3. Yarn over through the 4th hole. There's 4 loops. And you're going to do that to get to the, and sometimes yarn can be a little slippery, so you can just take it easy as you're doing your first row. 2, 6, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's 20 stitches. So, and you can always count them just to make sure you have the 20 that you need on your hook. So let's count them real quick. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So 20's on the hook. And yeah, the sun is coming up, so it is a little bright. And I apologize for that. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do what we've been doing is we are going to yarn over and pull through the first loop on our hook. We do that with all of them. With all of our rows that we've done with the simple, with the purl stitch, and with this, we'll do the same thing when we get to the end. We will always yarn over and do a single crochet into that first one. Now we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through 2 going backwards. So we're going to do our reverse pass on this. And if you're not sure, just make sure if you have to go through one and then go through the other if you're not sure if you're going to make it through both. And it depends if your crocheting is tight or loose. If it's a little tight, go up one more size. This is just a size I like to use for a lot of my projects, this and a size H. So all depends on what you are making. And sorry if there's a bunch of banging around outside. Beautiful day. We have crows that go hopping across the top of the roof. You can hear it, so, or they run into stuff. Okay, so now we have done our reverse pass. This is the end here. And then we came back on the reverse pass. So I'm going to go ahead and do my yarn here. So with every start to your honeycomb, we're always going to start with the simple stitch. So with this here, we are going to go into underneath this first bar that we see right here. We're going to go into that first bar. We're going to go under and over and pull through that loop, and that's going to put 2 loops on our hook. Now our next stitch is going to be a purl stitch. So you're going to go behind your yarn and push it forward to your second bar. You're going to go into that second bar. You're going to pull that yarn over and pull it through. And you're going to have that little bar right here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but you will have that bar right there for a purl stitch. So your next stitch is going to be a simple stitch again. So you're just going to go underneath that bar, yarn over, pull that loop up. Your next stitch is going to be a purl stitch. Something you can do that I've done too with harder projects is I have taken a piece of paper, written out how many stitches I've done. And the first stitch is always the R because this is already just a regular loop. And then as I've done my honeycomb stitch, I'll write simple purl or SP, SP going down. So I know which stitch it's supposed to be, whether it's supposed to be a simple or a purl stitch as I do the projects. And so after your regular stitch, the stitch you start with, this will be a purl. We will end with a purl stitch. So, and if you lose track where you're at, just count them, simple, purl, simple. So our next stitch is going to be a purl stitch. So we're going to push the yarn forward, go through that bar. We're taking our yarn and yarning over, and we're going to pull through it, and there's our purl stitch. Next one's going to be a simple stitch. So we're going to go through the bar, yarn over, pull through. Next one is going to be our purl. So we're going to push that yarn forward to slip our hook into the under the bar. We're going to loop the yarn over now. And remember, you've got to kind of hold on to it so you can down below the stitch just so you can get it through there. So there's a purl stitch. We're going to do a simple stitch. So yarn over, pull through that bar. We're going to push the yarn forward for another purl stitch. take the yarn, put it over, and pull through that bar. And so even this, you're just working through your bars. Another simple stitch. We're going to push the yarn forward for a purl stitch. Simple stitch. Purl stitch. And the reason why I am saying it out loud of which stitches is so you know where you should be on it. So that was a purl stitch. So we are going to go through that bar again for a simple stitch. We're going to push the yarn forward. We're going to do another purl stitch. And as you're working, you can just pull your this down, your loops down, so you can see where you're at. Simple stitch. We're going to push the yarn forward for our purl stitch. And it will bunch up a little bit, and that's okay. Just pull it down as it bunches up. We're going to do another simple stitch, purl stitch. Pull that yarn forward, over, and through that bar. Now we're at the end. So we started here with our simple stitch on our second loop here from our first. So this is our first because it's already on here. This was a simple stitch. So we're ending with a simple stitch. So we're going to go through this bar here. And if you have to, drop the yarn if you are having a hard time getting it in. We're going to loop up over and pull through. So just like what we've done with the others, we're going to go forward and then we're going to do our reverse pass the same way. So we are going to do one single crochet through that first one. Then we're going to loop over and we're going to pull through two. Yarn over, pull through two. Yarn over, pull through two. And you're just going to do that all the way back. You're just going to yarn over and pull it through through two loops till you're back to one loop on your hook. So we're almost to the end there. And we're back to the one loop on our hook. So you just did your first row of single and purl. Now, with the single and purl stitch, with each of these stitches, you will see some of the bars bigger, some of the bars being smaller. But because we started on a single on our first row, our next row, we're going to start with a purl stitch. So we have this normal loop on our hook. So we are going to push our yarn forward to go under that first, or basically it's that bar. And we're going to yarn over, pull through that bar. There's our purl stitch. So since we started with a purl stitch on the second row, then we need to end with a purl stitch. So that was a purl. We're going to do a single or a simple crochet. Then we're going to push the yarn forward to do another purl stitch. Then we're going to do a simple crochet there. Then we're going to do another purl. Simple crochet. Purl. Simple. Purl. The yarn's bunching up a little bit there. We're going to do simple. Purl. Simple. Purl. Simple. Purl. Simple. Purl. Simple. Now we're at our very last stitch here. So if you remember, what you started with, even though your first loop here is just a regular loop, this one is a purl stitch. So this last one should be a purl stitch. So you're going to push that yarn forward, put your hook through the bar, yarn over, you're going to hold where that bar goes, crossed, and you're going to pull through that loop, and there's your last stitch, your purl stitch. So we are going to go ahead and do our single crochet in the one loop, and then we're going to yarn over and come back through two. So we're going to go ahead and do our reverse pass on it. So we're just going to take our time and just go back behind it a bit. And you will already start seeing a little bit of a look, the honeycomb stitch. So this is what it should be looking at like so far with those stitches. With the purl and the honey and the simple stitch, making the honeycomb stitch. So now we're going to be on to our, well, it would be considered our fourth row, because our first our first row is always just doing the crochet, doing the bars, and then doing the reverse pass. And then once we start the second one, so since our first real honeycomb stitch was the simple stitch, we'd done a purl stitch, now we're going back to start with a simple stitch again. So here's our first loop on our hook, and here's the bar. We're going to slide through that bar, yarn over, pull through that loop. That's our simple stitch. Push the yarn forward, go through, and pull that loop through. Purl, so this is going to be simple, purl, simple, purl, simple, purl, simple, purl, simple, purl, simple, purl, and just keep telling yourself that as you're going down. So this is going to be a simple stitch, purl stitch is next, simple, purl, and our last stitch here. And sometimes I have to pull it up just a little bit so I can see where that bar is. And we're going to go ahead and yarn over and pull through that last hole. Now, last one was a simple stitch. So this was a simple stitch, and our last one was a simple stitch. So the second and last. So this row here was simple purl, all the way down, ending with the simple stitch. So we're going to yarn over to do our one single crochet. Then we're going to yarn over and go back for our reverse pass again. So we're just going to go through two, yarn over, pull through two as we go back. And I'm holding my yarn back here and up here to make sure that I have good control of my yarn and my hook as I'm doing this. And we are already back. So I'm going to let you do the next two rows, and I'll do them live with you for this. So the next one here is going to be a purl stitch. Now, because this was a simple stitch, we will be doing a purl stitch into it, and you'll see that the yarn is a little bit longer there. The one with the purl stitch, you can kind of see there's a knot right there, or where I went over. So let's see here. So we did regular one, we did simple purl, simple purl. So we are going to be doing a purl stitch on this one. And like I said, if you need to, write it down on the paper so you don't forget where you're at with these stitches. It does help on your projects if you know what you're doing and where you're at on the projects. Let's see, purl, simple, purl, simple, purl, simple. Let's see. Did I do that one right? Yeah, I did. Simple, purl. If you're not sure, just pull your loop off and you can figure it out. Or if you have to pull them off, leave that on, start over again. Simple, purl, simple, purl. And you can kind of see how I'm doing mine here as I'm going through this. And because we started with a purl stitch on this row, we are ending with a purl stitch. And we always do our one single crochet, and then we yarn over and go back, reversing, doing our reverse pass. So we're going to go ahead and do one more row, starting with the simple stitch, and then we will actually yarn off on our, as I call it, a yarn off on our project, stitch it off on the top. So this one we're going to start the single crochet or simple crochet, because the last one we start with a purl. See, simple purl, simple purl, simple. So purl, simple purl, simple purl, simple purl, simple purl, simple purl, simple purl, simple. So since we started with a simple on this last row we're doing today, we're going to end with a simple. So every row you do, whatever you start with as your second, because this will always stay the same. This will never change. But this one here will be the one that you start with. So this is a simple one. We ended with a simple. If you start with a purl, you'll end with a purl. It's just And you always want an even amount of numbers, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever. You always want to end up with an even number because you need the even number of stitches for this. So we're going to go ahead, yarn over, do our single crochet. We're going to yarn over and do our reverse pass. So, and I am going to mix up my channel a little bit of different projects, different crochet techniques, only because I think it's kind of boring if you stay on one thing too long. So that's why I did some of the beginning crochet techniques, just using a regular crochet needle and then, or crochet hook. And then I thought I'll do a little Tunisian. And I have some other ideas in mind. So we'll just have to see what comes up next. And yes, you can hear I'm still fighting with a bit of laryngitis. Cold's better, but the laryngitis sucks. So just like our other projects, how we have yarned off is the same way you're going to yarn off on this project too. Now, a lot of people think it sounds kind of weird saying yarn off, but it's a way of saying that they're done with the project, they're going to stitch it to close it, and then you can sew in your ends. So just like every other project we've done, we're going to put our crochet needle, our Afghan needle, underneath the bar. We're going to yarn over, pull through, and we're going to pull through. Here's our first one. We're going to go through the second bar, yarn over, pull through that loop, and then we're going to pull through that loop. We're going to go through the third, yarn over, pull through, pull through. Go through the fourth, yarn over, pull through, and it'll give you that flat look on top there as we go through under each bar and pull through each hole there. So basically, you're just doing almost like a slip stitch, double slip stitch is what it's called. When you yarn over, you pull through the one there, and then you pull it through. You're just slip stitching it across to close it. Now, sometimes with purl stitches, the bars can be a little tight. Just work your crochet needle in there. There's another one. So let's go in here, and we're just going to keep going across till all of it is closed off here. Everything's done. So, and it's okay. Sometimes it takes a little getting used to. It takes just a little bit of work there. This one's being a little weird. I don't know why, but it is. And sometimes you'll get that where the yarn doesn't look right at first. And so I'm going to pull that one out, and I'm going to do that. So you can just carefully back out of one of the slip stitches if you're not sure about it. There we go, got it fixed. It was just being a little weird sometimes, and yarn can do that. Just back out one or two loops, and you can rehook back up and finish your slip stitching across. So you're just going under the bar, grabbing the yarn, pulling it through under the bar and through the loop on top. That's all you're doing. So we're at the last bar and doing the last loop. So we're going to go ahead and do the yarn. We're going to cut this. And I cut my yarn enough that it leaves me with a bit of a tail to sew in. So I'm going to wind up the rest of my yarn right here. And we're going to go ahead, sew in our ends. And if you remember me saying the other day, when it's the same color, it's kind of easier to sew in the ends because then you're not seeing the different stitch colors or any of that. Really, it just kind of goes in. And you just kind of work it through the bars here. And my yarn, for some reason, doesn't always like coming through all the way. So I usually get it through a loop and then I'll pull it forward to do it. And make sure before you cut off your end that you straighten out what you need there. Now, acrylic yarns, you can't really iron because they can burn so easily. You don't want to use acrylic yarns for anything hot. These make really good hats, scarves, things like that, of that nature. So there's that one. Cotton, however, can take the heat and you can iron whatever you're working on. With this here, though, I have actually taken the iron to acrylic, but I've only when I've done fall leaves and a few other things, but you only leave it on, and I've used mixed fabrics on my iron where I have just left it to be 3 to 5 seconds. That's it. And it's usually just enough that it does not burn the acrylic yarn and I can actually get it to settle down a bit. But it also depends on the project if I need it to settle down or not. I've done a lot of bookmarkers over the years. I've done some cross bookmarkers. I've done some simple ones. And it all kind of depends on what you are looking at for it. I made a book case, like a book bag, for like a single book. So, and they make really neat little gifts too, the book bags too. And that was made out of granny squares. I just made a shawl not too long ago that was made out of granny squares. So that will be stuff we will do later on. So now that my little thing here is done, this was the top and the bottom, you can see the honeycomb stitch that we did. And yeah, it's a little faded right there, but you can actually see the honeycomb. And that's what your project should look like with that stitch. It gives it the neat look. Always makes me think of a beehive. And with all these videos, you can rewind, go back through, listen to what I'm saying. And I prefer to do a lot of these projects along with you. So while I'm doing and explain it, if you can't see it immediately, you know what I'm doing. And I hope you can learn easily through that. So I hope you all have a good day. Thanks for joining me again today on Days with Jen, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.